I think we are actually live.
Wow.
Um, I've got, I'm pressing buttons, so hopefully we'll find out if people are around and if they're going to join us. So, have you been?
Oh, delightful.
Two
Yes.
weeks since I saw you last. Is it 2 weeks already? Oh my
Oh,
lord!
I think it may be more, Yvonne.
No, it's not. I
Wow.
really think so. Um, well, was that a bit exciting that we finally got to touch?
It's absolutely beautiful. Yes. Yeah, that's definitely a first for me. From all the Brave New Life people and all the connections that we made through there.
Yeah.
And yes, then beautiful Linda was there who took the course in syntropy. So that was really great to connect with her. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Well, you haven't had the chance to actually. Oh dear, yes, there's Bali. So nice.
That's lovely for you.
Now, when I hear that, I think, oh yes, I was on the back of one of those, which was really quite an experience. So,
Mm.
and I know that you certainly had a great influence on the retreat and the people that I brought over to visit you. And I just want to thank you for all the effort you made, and how
Mm.
you welcomed us into your haven, which is just wonderful. I just loved it, and just perhaps I thought we'd chat a little bit about what you're doing there, and maybe just expand on that a little bit, and how that relates to the reason why I'm actually going to Bali, and I'm doing it again in November,
Yeah, so wonderful. I'm so
November the
inspired,
3rd.
so
Yes.
inspired in by your navigation, and it was just such a great kind of like an injection or a remembering, reconnecting, because I've been really hands in the dirt, boots on the ground, navigating a lot of remodeling and shaping the land and planting out trees and yes, so many practicals that I've been so submersed in that I almost forgot the all the beautiful what I all have in my bundle. And as a facilitator, as a host, as a guide, as so many gifts that I haven't really been tapping into, and it was just so beautiful to reconnect with people, dare I say, of my own culture, because I've been so submersed in the Balinese culture and really connecting in with their way of life. And it's just been so refreshing to have some of that input that these beautiful women that you brought to Bali have their energy and their enthusiasm and their awe in like, wow, this is so beautiful. It allowed me then also to see again, it's like, oh yes, yes, it is incredibly beautiful here. Yes.
Absolutely. Um,
Mm,
well, it is beautiful here, but one of the things that I really wanted to share with you too was the reason why you're there, but certainly why I'm there, and that is this the culture of the Balinese that we can learn so much from
mm,
and integrate into this creation of the new earth, because that, as you know, is just my mission is to create. This morning was funny. I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking, I started by thinking I've got to create new earth sanctuaries, but as I've got older, I'm thinking I really don't know that I want to do that. And then I know we'll, certainly instigate and expire and do all of that. But then I thought, okay, new earth communities, which I'm part of, and but
mm.
I said, you know what? When you break it down, all that I'm really focused on is creating new earth people.
Wow.
Because it's just it's like the seed. The new earth people are the seed of the new earth communities, are the seed of the new earth sanctuaries, are the seed of the new earth as it is. And then how that then relates to you and what you're doing, which is not dissimilar. with your planting in your garden, which was just divine. And gosh, what you've accomplished in 6 months is just brilliant. But it also then related to what we can all achieve: plant a seed,
Mm.
focus on it, love it, nurture it, and within a very short time, that seed of us that we really need to look at and expand and plant. Well, we don't have to plant because the seed is already in us. The thing is that we don't nurture it enough, and we don't or we don't know how to nurture it, and mostly we use the wrong fertilizer food, and we certainly and then the belittling thoughts that we throw at ourselves all the time, that just causes this constriction and the inability for the seed to ever really blossom to its fullness. And that's one of the reasons I take people to Bali, because what I learned so much again this time, it was just such a deep reminder of their belief that everything is consciousness.
Mm.
There's no separation between, the mouse that I'm fiddling with here, not a live one, has just as much a consciousness as you do, or I do, or this cup does. They see everything that they can see is a consciousness, which is a truth. It couldn't exist if it wasn't some level of consciousness, and if you translate that, then some level of energy frequency, which then is transformed into a form, into matter, into some shape. And
Mhm.
and it's that realization when you're able to slow down and give yourself the time and the opportunity to have that look and see it expressed. You
Mm.
see it expressed when you go into the countries and you really meet with the people, and they just go through this symbiotic flow of you know of what is, and everything's blessed, and everything is looked at with gratitude. It's just such a beautiful thing, and I really, really felt that was one of the biggest gifts that this retreat gave us, besides you, of course. I mean, I won't diminish that. So, did we inspire you to come out of the dirt a little bit and bring all your wonderful, you know, wisdom into not just the syntropy of with nature and the earth,
Mm.
but also with the people? Because what I saw was how hungry they were for anything that you could offer them, and that's just beautiful because you have a great gift. So what did we
Yeah.
stir in you?
Well, I hadn't really dressed up, so to speak, for a long time, and
Well, I was wondering, I was going to say, well, you actually had to go and clean up and have a shower, but I wasn't going to be that rude.
yeah. No, I shared a link here with you of the photos that we made during the day. Maybe you want to put that in the chat for people. It
Oh,
was just
okay.
it was just a delightful experience to be met and to be able to have self contact with
Yeah.
you. That was so. It was beautiful to experience how my own Bali family, Mami and Papi and Ricky and Putri, it's beautiful to sense how their culture operates. Is that it's not like everything else is being dropped. It's just that in the here and the now, what is presented with for them is they prioritize that, and so it's culture first. And so there was a beautiful welcome to countries, as we would traditionally call that in Australia.
Oh, I
Beautiful
love
welcoming
that.
ceremony,
Love that. So
and that's just natural, and how they navigate. Um, yeah, it's very interesting to be a quote unquote advanced mind, to have really scoured through the programming of the Western orientation and have reconnected so much with the indigenous life ways of peace and harmony and connectedness with nature, and trying to really integrate that into my own navigation, into my mind gardens, into my orientation and how I relate to humans. And yeah, it is something that for me is just so relevant when we talk about new earth people. And I really love that you share that, Yvonne, because for a long time I've been looking at just dreaming into being the new earth. And I was the one that initiated, as probably many other human beings on the earth, but I had a web domain called newearthsanctuaries.org. I really made a big call for that. And in my own bioregion at the time, still currently up until today, New Earth sanctuaries exist there. And then the sanctuaries can be anyone's home. It can be your living room. It can be your sanctuary where you have your altar. It's maybe where you pray. It may be your garden. It may be the nearby forest that has a special place in it that you can define as a sanctuary for that frequency. And that's really what it is. But when we look at newer sanctuaries and people not necessarily having maybe a beautiful garden green environment around them, I think you just made it so much more simple, which is that the truth of how to navigate naturally isn't complicated. But the simplicity is that we can simply identify with the notion that we are a human, a new earth human. What a great term, what a great word, what a great fantasy label to apply to myself, so that my navigation is not dependent on a community that shares my values, in which I may find bioresonance, that my beingness is not dependent on whether I have a sanctuary or not, is that the frequency can simply be embodied from within, that I, I simply am a new earth human. And I can definitely sense for myself, as I resonate with what you shared, it's like, wow, that is some potent medicine there, Yvonne, because it allows so many more people to see themselves not dependent on an external connection, which naturally only complements their own beingness. But from my backdrop and where I come from, I've been looking very much for an identity that would be appropriate, and a so-called label that I feel really is natural for me to operate with. I'm not a coach, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a guide, I'm not any of these. I may be a wizard, but outside any of these labels, what is really able to connect with us in simplicity? And when we say to ourselves, I'm a new earth human, now that's a beautiful frequency for me to see myself in, because from that place I then am in my garden, in my new earth sanctuary, outside of my living environment, and I can amplify from within into the external. And I think it's a beautiful key point in humans being able to identify as themselves as a human for and in the new earth as a frequency, where then everything they do and everything they choose and how they navigate is an expression of them being into being in that being of new earth awareness. And I think it's a beautiful way to relate to ourselves as humans. And I would really like to sound out to anybody watching this, like, start seeing yourself like that. Start affirming that you are a new earth human. It's a beautiful, beautiful frequency that I can sense is, wow, heaven. It's bioresonant.
Well, it was, as I say, it came to me this morning that just when I'm bringing down and down and down, because we're so programmed to look for institutions to show us how to be or what to be. And even in this new earth truth, or horrible word, movement, it is it's still looking for. We're always seeking something, looking for. But when I become that which I'm looking for, then I
Yes.
take it with me wherever I go. And that is something that was just so prevalent with the group, that that has just been to Bali with me. This openness of absorbing everything possible through the lens of a higher state of conscious awareness, of really relating to everything, relating to nature as one, relating to each other as one, relating to, the people that they saw. And I just, and the comments were so beautiful because they were so open to to gain from every experience from that higher state of
Mm.
consciousness of the new earth human. And it was probably one of the most um, not so much rewarding, but relaxed and in flow retreat I've run because of this willingness. And we talk so often about all you have to be is willing. You don't have to have any knowledge. You don't have to have any certificates, any criteria. You just go, I'm willing. I'm willing to be a new earth being of a higher state of consciousness that goes beyond the suffering and the struggling of the old modality, the old times that we are now transitioning out of, because so many people have this false belief that to get somewhere, it needs to be hard. It needs to be, it needs, we need to do this and do that and do something. And in actual fact, it's the opposite. It is to stop doing and just learn to be still and to be willing to be the best of yourself, to find that seed within you. And that takes, it takes focus, but it takes willingness, it takes surrender, and it takes just a state of mind that has turned its back on the old and said, humans don't have to live like that. They don't have to live like that. What they need to live, we can all live beautifully in this cohesive, symbiotic, beautiful movement of life through us, for us, and with each other. That is just so amazing to me, Um, it yeah. Hi, Linda. It's so good. I think Linda was just off the ground the whole time because she was able to actually meet her. She was able to meet you. I think I got extra points for that one, and it was
Yeah.
just lovely. It's lovely because I know that for you, you've done so much work on screen, and then finally to connect with people who can actually say, "Hey, I really appreciate what you give," and that's necessary for all of us. So yes, that's just beautiful to do. And I really think that is what we're both doing. You're doing it in a different way, but it is this creation of people who start to connect, with everything, with the all that is, not as separate things, not as beings that have to control something or that have to own something or that have to um, have power over and tell what to do all the time. It's just it's crazy. I'm part of an organization, a worldwide organization I shall not name, um, that goes under the banner of spirituality and expansion and higher consciousness. I tell you what, they've got more rules than the guy that's running this crazy state. And I'm going, I don't get it. Why would I give up that lot of rules for another lot of rules? When the
Mm.
only rule to me that's important is the the moral connection to source and soul that tells me as a natural being what is for my highest possibility. What is it that I can offer? What impact do I have? That's what, we've all got to come back to this. What impact do I have? um, we don't think about those things. We're so programmed to get money in the bank, to do this and do that and own that, and have power over that, and get up the corporate ladder and all of that rubbish. And you know in the meantime you forget all about what is life about. And
Yeah.
unfortunately most humans don't question that until they face death, either themselves or they lose a loved one. And then all of a sudden it's like, hang on a minute,
Mm.
all those unfulfilled dreams, all those things that we could have done, we didn't do. And we don't have to live like that anymore. Well, we never did have to live like that, but we have. So let's change it. Let's look at the
Mm.
new human and go, well, what does this new human look like? And how can I step into that and just live it? Because
Yeah.
then the ripple effect of that is just amazing. I just got off a Zoom call with um, a lady in Sunshine Coast, and who came to me, I think, close to 30 years ago here in Victoria as one of my, early clients. Her life was a mess then. She's now a brilliant teacher. She's an author. She runs amazing events, and I look at her and I go, "There's my ripple effect." And looking at the impact that we have wherever we go as new Earth humans, that is something really to strive for. And I think let's do it. Let's be it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, Yvonne. Yeah, it's so many humans are already there, but the beautiful thing is that for many seeking to become to arrive within in that frequency of being a new earth human, there are so many here in Bali that are already there, and they don't identify like that at all, because identity is not something that's necessarily part of the indigenous mindset. They're more connected to their land, to their river, to their mountain. And I for one, couldn't name my mountain because the place where I came from doesn't have one. Um, and I could maybe associate to a canal that was man-made, but that's also very strange. So yeah, it's really in an age where so much seems to be in the time that we're in, where so much is in decline in the mainframe of society. There is a deep question for no longer who am I, but the question has become what am I? And
Mm.
so there's a lot of distortion and a lot of dystopia going on around, and it's both in the spiritual community, in the so-called spiritual new cage movement, and it's also in the totally non-spiritual um,
Mm.
arena, where this like what am I? And I have recently started sharing a little bit more on the perceivable dangers of identifying with ideologies and and self-reflective mentalities that are calling on others to identify us, to affirm our identity. And I think what we're speaking to here is that it's identifying as a new earth human doesn't require anybody else to validate you, doesn't require you to be a victim of your circumstance. Very far from it. And I don't even think that there's a needed pronoun for that, because the new earth human operates on common sense and operates in natural frequency and natural awarenesses that are not filled with make-believe fantasies of something that we're actually not. And I really appreciate you sharing this what your team is providing you with on the journey towards creating the new earth. And I think it's the most beautiful statement that one can really take on for themselves. It's like a garment that you can put on. It's like a beautiful, beautiful silk that, as an energy and a frequency, can start really. It's like connecting in with that seed that has always been there, and really watering it by saying, "I am that. I am that new earth human." For me, I can definitely sense that I have, for the longest, so my process here in Bali, and what I've been dedicating my time and energy and all my resources to, is to create this new earth sanctuary, this living ark. And then I guess the notion could be is that once I have that completed, then there is a new earth sanctuary, and through that I can then start talking about the new earth, because I can show it. I can say, come to my new earth sanctuary. It's a beautiful place. And what I recognize through just our conversation today is that it's already here. I don't need an external sanctuary or an external ark or a beautiful environment around me for me to be able to showcase something. I can just be it. And I'm really going to take that on, because I've been questing for myself more and more the notion of dependency on other for either being validated or being seen or being acknowledged. And I had to kind of drop a lot of those attachments that were not necessarily addictions, but I was very, very much on the lookout for that unconsciously. And over the past 6 to 7 months, that has really come down to, if I just surrender everything to God, to Creator, to the higher creative force that is here, and I do my work, and I do my bidding, and my efforts are towards serving that spirited energy, that God field, then I'm not looking for validation, because God's never going to say, "Oh, Sovereign, you're doing such a great job. I'm really proud of you." And this is something that I feel that in our human ecology, we are still very much benefiting, but there seems to be a little bit of a dependency or a codependency on receiving that from others, the acknowledgement for our efforts and our time and our suffering and our struggle, as you say it. And I've really learned over the last months to become more and more free to not do things for the concept of it will therefore inspire others, but more orientating myself. I'm just doing it because it's the right thing to do. If I want to live in this new earth frequency, if I want to live in the abundance and the prosperity of a life with nature, then I benefit cultivating that. And yet, I still long for love. I still long not so much for acknowledgement, because that's what love really can bring about as a feeling. But when I do my actions and my navigation is orientated and surrendered up to Creator, to God, I get to be with God in the process. And there is a communion and there is a spirited exchange that happens on a very frequent basis, where, the goosebumps, just the energies just run through the cellular metric. And that's something that has really become kind of like my mantra. I do this for God. And through that, I find my satisfaction to be more quenching. There's been an unquenchable thirst. No matter how many people say, "You're doing such an amazing job." Yeah, tomorrow I'd like to hear that again from another human. But if I do it without there being any human response or validation, but I do it with the objective to serve in my highest good, creation and God, I get to be met with a love inside of myself that is very hard to describe, but it's very, very satisfying.
Absolutely beautiful as always. And look, that's true. For me, I just feel that we are all emissaries of that higher state of consciousness, whatever name you want to give it. Um, and we are that. This view that it's all so separate. But I just want to come back to the people that are listening to us, and when you were talking about a small mountain, you did get some help from one of our Dutch viewers here, which I thought was rather nice. And
Well,
Carl,
we
thank you for
call
that.
it a terp in Dutch. That's called a terp, a klein heuveltje. Yes, a very small, tiny little hill. I
Yeah,
wouldn't, I wouldn't know how to name one.
no, but Carla is actually booked in to come in November. So she was going to come this time, but I couldn't make the time, and so she's coming in November. So you could look forward to having a bit of a Dutch conversation.
So great,
She
so
she actually
wonderful.
speaks it well, not like me. I'm a little bit lost. Well, not lost. I just don't use it. Okay, and this is the thing about it too is that this idea of separation, and that's what I was talking about in the beginning. This knowingness that we are all consciousness expressing itself in different forms, right? And but each one, everything that we see in form is an expression of formless or the frequency of the prime creator.
Mm.
So we can't ever separate ourselves from that, no matter how we try. We've been well programmed to believe we have to earn, the love of God, goddess, the all that is, Fred nerd, I don't know what you call that entity or energy. It's not an entity, it's an energy. We were born of love. Everything on earth is born of love. It's what we've done with it that is the problem.
Mhm.
And to
Mhm.
retrieve that now and to bring it back to love, for me, I just have this real focus at the moment. If it isn't love, I'm not playing.
Mm.
It just needs to come from, and it's not the I love you because you look gorgeous or whatever. You do look gorgeous this morning, by the way, or afternoon. Um, but but I really want to know. I want people to recognize that they are everything inside. That they are the rocks. That they are the trees. That they are the people, that everything is an expression of that same power pack. And so when we can acknowledge that and look at that without judgment or opinion and just go, so that's God being a house, and that's God being a horse, and that's God being sovereign. And if you want to use that word, because to me that has been so hijacked, I find it more difficult than what you do. But it doesn't matter what words we use because our language is so crazy. One of the highlights of the retreat was when we went to see this amazing Balinese, I don't know, he's a high caste, priest, healer, shaman, weirdo. Um, he speaks only Balinese, so if even he listens, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. I just, when I met him, we just clicked. There's absolutely no language, common language whatsoever, except telepathy. I know it when he speaks, and I ended up having to translate because our two drivers trying to translate from Balinese to English, and their English was not great. And so in the end, it was like, look, I'll tell them what you're trying to say. And because it was just, there was no language needed. And that's where we're going. Because the more that we tune into each other as being one and have that willingness, that openness, to be the new earth human as one with all that is, the less language we're going to need.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, the language that we have been cultured into is very deprived of healthy archetypes, in the sense that how we can identify with being a certain something, um, from my syntropic sharing and wisdom base that has really come alive for me, and also from all the work with syntropy and recognizing what syntropy is, the strategies of life for life, and that there is in the natural process of life a hardwired sort of, but an intrinsic drive and an orientation to accumulate more quantity and quality of consolidated life. That is what life is doing. It's becoming more of itself.
Yeah.
And in that, it becomes richer, it becomes more biodiverse, it accumulates in nature, it just accumulates more nutrients. And of course, humans have interfered since the dawn of agriculture with the degradation of all of that. So we're having a very degraded landscape that is very reflective also of our language. The English language is definitely a degraded, but a really segregative form of naming everything without the intrinsic relevancy and their connection to nature. And one of the things that is still very evident when we look at through the lens of syntropy is that we have a language base that is commerce driven, and it is commerce driven for the purpose of this notion of economy. And and economy and ecology are two words that are very close to each other, but they definitely mean different things. And when we are able to adopt more of the ecology based languages, we can also start seeing that a lot of the in the economy based language, a lot of it is about growth, it is about expansion, it's all these natural strategies, but they are directed to a singular outcome. And yet that outcome is also still accumulating more quantity and quality of consolidated life. It's just that in the process of humans engaging in that, the nutrient density of food is becoming less, and really the value of money has been reduced to a fraction of what things were 100 years ago. And what I want to come here, what I want to come to here with that, is that we can speak with the language of syntropy and nature, and come into a perspective awareness that how we see ourselves and how we identify as human beings, when that is more ecology orientated, we start shifting our own sense of self perception, and we become naturally interconnected with the world around us. And we are able to witness the strategies of life around us. And one of the archetypes, and that's what I started with here, in relationship to how can we see our fellow human beings? Well, it may be really beneficial to see other human beings also as new earth humans, but are they intentionally devoting and directing their energy? Are they connecting with that seed within them? And so one of the things that has really helped me be able to shift my way that I look at really anybody, but me as a man, particularly women, and also younger women, is to recognize that these are all daughters of God, daughters of the great creative force that is here. And there's a sense of reverence that instantly comes with that. That it's not just an individualized human being, in this case, woman, that I'm looking at. There is an inner awareness. And the same would go for being a woman that's looking at men. It's like, yeah, that's a son of God. That is a son of this beautiful human family. And I feel that some of these archetypes have gotten lost in our language.
But that's really why I think I love coming to Bali, because they treat each other and with reverence. and we've lost, that treating each other with respect and reverence is something that really the new Earth human has to be a priority. Love, respect, reverence, and reverence for the journey that everybody's on right now. Well, we could be talking all day, and we very likely would, but the time is going. But it's not the last time we will be chatting together, I'm sure. It's just an absolute delight to have spent time with you. What I was going to say before, when you said about creating sanctuaries, but you already have. I mean, how you brought us into your home, that was your sanctuary. And we were so privileged. And that welcoming ceremony that Poppy did was just so beautiful. And it was a highlight from everyone at the retreat. So you're already doing that. You're already being that. And that's what I really want to end with, is to say, we can do it in our own home, we can do it in our own heart, we can do it with each other, and we need to be it with each other. So we have come to this realization that we've got a new term. It's going to be, we are new Earth humans, right? And I love it, you love it, and so let's make it grow, like everything. Thank you so much for making the effort. I know that you had trouble with your internet, and it was all a bit, but you see, the gods came and made sure that we got through this without a hiccup, and I love that always. So love you as always. It's so nice now to know exactly where you live and have had that time to spend together. And I'm encouraging anyone who watches this, no matter where you are in the world, if you want to come and join me, I can only take 10 people, but with a bit of extra in November, and let's go and spend some new Earth human quality together with Sovereign in Bali, and watch what he's creating, because what he's creating is beautiful.
Thank you, Yvonne.
So much. As always, my love.
Yay.
You are the best. You are the best. So we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.